Okay, guys, I'm just going to get into it. I'm going to tell you what you want to know. All the time people ask me, Alex, you are the most woke, empty house, super millionaire business guy on YouTube. What type of superpowers does this afford you? And I'm like, well, quite a few. Okay, there's a lot of benefits that come with being this woke. And one of the benefits that I have that a normal human being will never reach is being able to wake up, it's 4:30 right now, excited to make a video for you and excited to actually, put in about 10 hours of work today. How do I do that? How do I do that? Well, first off, you have to be extremely woke. But secondly, you have to understand that you are not your brain. On a serious note, let's just dive into the topic for today, because I've been dealing with a lot of demotivation lately, actually. I have not been at the levels of wokeness that I want to be at. And I want to tell you why, and here's exactly how I fix this, because I don't think I could get the levels of work I need to get done. I don't think I could perform at the level I need to without understanding this. And when this happens, I do a very specific thing that tricks my brain back into essentially loving what I'm doing. And that sounds super weird if you don't understand how your brain works and that you are not your brain. Let me explain. And also, before we get going, I was looking at my analytics, and like 70% of you guys who watch this channel aren't subscribed. Go hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. I don't upload very frequently, and it will let you know when I upload. It also let you know when I live stream, and then I share all sorts of crazy stuff on the live streams. The stuff I share on this channel, that's just the appetizer. You want to get the main course that's in the live streams. You can't do that unless you're subscribed, which is 70% of you, so fix that. Also hit the like button. Helps me out a lot. So whenever I work with really high-level entrepreneurs, people that actually know what they're doing, they know how to run a business, they have a business, and they're actually very smart. When I see people struggle to be successful or grow their business, or even when I work with beginners, it's almost never an IQ thing. It's almost never a smarts thing. It's never a business thing. It almost always comes down to output and production. And that means being able to sit down and just do 10 hours, 12 hours of focused work every single day. Even 4 hours, even 3 hours. Most people can't even do that. The reason why that happens 99 out of 10 times, math. The reason why that happens is because the person isn't motivated to do the work. They aren't motivated to focus. It's that simple. And so why isn't the person motivated? Is it because they're lazy? Is it because they're a slouch? No, even very recently, I wake up and I'm not motivated to work on my business, and I realize this is what's happened to my brain. This is what's happened to your brain if you have very low output. And if you have low output, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to suck. It's not going to work. So here's what's happening, at least to me, and I see happening to everybody else. Our brains are fried dopamine-wise. And I've explained this in other videos, but I have a really good understanding of it right now, and I want to share with you because it's really helped me out. You have to understand that your motivation to do things is completely out of your control. It's completely out of your control. You don't have control of it. I've said that 3 times. It's too early in the morning. So here's exactly how you get that motivation back, because if you don't have it, you can't do anything. And your motivation works a lot like alcohol does. For example, a person that drinks very little doesn't have to drink much to get drunk, but if you're slamming it down Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock rolls around and you're fucked up, you have to drink a lot to get drunk. And so it might also occur to you that when you're pumped up and you're excited to be doing something, it's almost like an intoxication. You're getting high. And you might notice that when you're doing certain activities like playing with your phone or playing video games or scrolling around on the internet, you have a very easy time focusing, and you almost will feel that intoxication to the point where you'll just do it for hours and hours and hours until you feel sick. And this can even happen to me as the most woke, empty house, super billionaire business guy on YouTube. Okay? And the reason why this happens is because the things that we have and that we use every single day, they provide way more dopamine than our brain can handle. It's like you're taking 50 shots. And I don't know about you, but that's a lot of alcohol for me. I'm going to have a bad night. You're going to have a bad time if you do that. But it's like taking 50 shots before you even get to work. And the result is our dopamine receptors are completely overloaded. And here's what happens when they're overloaded. So this is a pretty well-known test. But our dopamine receptors, if you look at animals, you look at chimps, you look at rats, they're almost identical to ours. And scientists basically put this little cap on a rat, and whenever this rat pressed a button in this test, and this has been done many times, like I said before, so this isn't like a one-off thing and a funny story, it's the truth of how your brain works. Whenever this rat pressed the button, it would basically hit the dopamine receptors in his head and trigger them, and the rat would, get high. All right, he'd have a little mini ratgasm. And eventually what would happen is the rat would just sit there pressing that button over and over and over and over again, which is kind of similar. You think, oh, that's a stupid fucking rat. He'd just sit there for hours pressing the button, giving himself ratgasms all day. But you really got to think, is the rat actually that stupid? Because you see humans sit in front of World of Warcraft for 14 hours a day. I've done that, okay? I'm not above it. You see people walking down, just go walk down the street. I was walking down the street the other day, and there's this fat ass just walking the street, like face, like, just staring at his phone. Like he can't even walk to the store without looking at his phone. And if you go hang out and look at most people, they're just like that rat. They're smashing the button over and over again, and they can't put it down. They can't put it down. There's nothing even useful going on their phone. They can't put it down. Now, this isn't some rant about let's be more involved and more present in our daily lives. It's a rant about here's exactly the really shitty part that comes with this. It would be all fun and games if this didn't have any negative consequences, if we could just wake up and be super motivated and then check our phones for 4 hours and then play World of Warcraft for 10 hours. That'd be great if we could keep the same levels of motivation, but you can't. See, here's the part that applies to you and you not being motivated to do things. It applies to me when I find myself not being motivated to do things. See, when the rat got deeper and deeper into his ratgasm ways, what would happen is he would lose motivation for everything else. There'd be food in his cage, and he wouldn't even have motivation to walk over to the food and eat it. His brain literally wasn't motivated to do what is good for it. It was only motivated to press this button. Because you got to understand, your brain looks at dopamine like a 1 and a 0. 1 means, hey, you should do more of this, and 0 looks like, hey, do less of this. That's obviously pain. And so when you're mashing the dopamine receptor on this one thing and it's giving this levels of high, the brain is only going to want you to do the thing that triggers dopamine. It has no understanding of what's going on in the outside world and what's good or what's bad for you. It's going to just focus and say the thing that triggers the most dopamine is the thing that's the best for you, and you should get excited about that. And so the rat wouldn't eat. Everything else in his life that was beneficial to him fell apart. He lost weight, he got very skinny, and he got very sick as well. And the craziest thing about that is you think, well, maybe the rat was just super lazy and didn't want to do anything. No. They put this shocking field in the cage. They laced the floor with shock things. Okay. An electrical pad, as scientists would probably call it. And the funny thing is, then they put the little switch that the rat could push to trigger his ratgasm. And the rat magically had the motivation to not just walk to the switch, but to walk over to electrical padding and shock himself to get to this ratgasm button. So not only will dopamine not lead us to things that are most beneficial for us, it will actually lead us towards paths that are very unbeneficial for us and make us motivated to do unbeneficial things. And so, if we can take this back and look at this in terms of our lives, I can wake up in the morning, other people can wake up in the morning, and if our dopamine receptors are overloaded, we're not going to be motivated to do what's good for us. We're not going to be motivated to do certain things. We're not going to get high from it. And so our brain is going to say, don't do that thing. It's going to say, keep doing the things that give you the dopamine hits, the ratgasms. And that's exactly what's happening when you use your phone. It's literally designed to be a ratgasm. And more importantly, your brain is going to motivate you to do the things that aren't good for you. It's going to say, keep using your phone, keep playing World of Warcraft, keep doing all this shit that's stupid. Keep eating this food that makes you sick. Keep drinking these things that make you sick. Now, I've talked about this before, but how does this work in terms of work? Okay, so for you to work on your business, it's a low dopamine releasing thing. Truly think about it. Usually in business, you're not going to see any results of your labor for weeks and months often. The dopamine release is a very slow burn. And even if you're doing anything in business like creating or working with your team, it's very low dopamine release. And so it can't compete with the types of dopamine release that we deal with in our daily lives. It can't compete with video games. It can't compete with your phone. It can't compete with TV. And in order for you to sit down and do 8 to 10 hours of work, you're going to have to be excited about it. And you're going to have to achieve a dopamine high. You just are. You're going to have to enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't have a dopamine high, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. Thus, you're not going to be motivated to do it. Thus, it's going to be very hard to do it. So the reason why you can't get any work done, the reason why when I wake up and I'm demotivated or I'm not able to focus on my work, it's exactly what's happened. I've let myself fall into ratgasm mode. Because your brain, it's not going to achieve the level of dopamine hits it needs to get satisfaction from doing work. And so what you must do is you have to trick your brain, or you have to not so much trick your brain, but you have to remove things from your life so that you can get a dopamine hit from work. You have to understand that the joy you experience from playing a video game and the joy you get from working on a business can be exactly the same. It's like a person who doesn't drink very often. If they take a shot, they're going to have the same amount of joy as a guy that drinks constantly if he takes 10 shots. It's all relevant. The problem is when you're at that 10-shot level, you have to keep pounding 10 shots, and you can never deal or work with just one shot. Just like if you're playing video games all the time, if you're playing with your phone all the time, if you're doing all sorts of high dopamine activities, which is basically anything on your computer, the one isn't going to work for you. And so here's exactly what you do to fix this. You need to be able to get to the point where the one gets you super high, and that's going to allow you to work on your business and really enjoy it. And again, you have to understand that your dopamine levels, the triggers, doesn't actually represent what's good for you and what's really going to bring you satisfaction. For example, the rat was willing to walk across electrical pads and electrocute itself to press a button. That's nothing to do with improving your life or your overall fulfillment in life. Just like how some people can sit at a computer for 12, 14 hours and play World of Warcraft. It's nothing to do with anything that's beneficial to them. It doesn't even make them happy. In fact, it makes them very sad. So don't think to yourself, oh man, I don't know if I want to work on my business because it's just not as fun as playing video games. It's just not as fun as scrolling around Instagram. No. It is way more fun. It's way more fun. It just doesn't activate it just doesn't activate chemicals in a way that an artificially designed piece of technology that's designed to activate those chemicals does. So what do? It's actually really simple, okay? I think you could probably deduce exactly how to fix this as well. You need to go on a dopamine detox. What does this mean? So whenever I feel myself getting like this, I mean, I'll still play video games from time to time. I play Super Smash Bros. Pretty frequently. I compete at tournaments and whatnot. But there's times that your brain, after so much time of being dopamine overwhelmed, that you have to cut it off. And so I'll notice my behaviors. I'll go and say, man, you're on Facebook a lot more than you used to be. You're looking at Instagram. You're scrolling through Facebook on your phone. You're checking your text messages. You're thinking about a video game too much. No fucking wonder you're not motivated, Alex. It's pretty damn easy at this point. And so what I'll do, and what I suggest you do, is a dopamine detox. Now, there's some people that do like extreme versions of this where they don't eat and they don't do anything for an entire day. What I'm going to suggest to you is you don't have to cut these things out of your life for good, but you need to cut them out of your life for a while. Your phone, it absolutely just has to go. It absolutely has to go. There's only one reason I need my phone, and that's because at Hyros, I have to check clients' ads on mobile. And so I have to have the Facebook app, and I need to go check their ad links and their tracking and stuff on my mobile phone to see how it works in a mobile environment. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have my phone at all. If you don't have that, you shouldn't have a phone. You can connect to a Google Voice account, and you can just do any important calls or anything from your computer. You should not have a phone. And at the worst, it should just be in a desk in airplane mode 24/7. It's the number one dopamine trigger causing thing I can possibly imagine. And it's designed to literally be a ratgasm button. It is the highest degree of stimulation you get. Of course, stay away from other activities on computers that are super high dopamine triggers. There's all sorts of things like that, like social media. There's also like looking at hot babes on the internet. That's a super dopamine trigger. It blows your mind's dopamine levels to a whole entire level. And to really put this in perspective, what this is going to achieve is your brain. I saw this in another video I'm going to link below that really helped me as well. But your brain is like a donkey. It's like an animal that you're riding around on. And so this is my fucking drawing of a donkey. It's pretty good. I'm very woke. I'm very successful, so I can draw on levels you can't. Don't be jealous. But basically, you are riding around, and your brain is a donkey, and motivation is how motivated that donkey is. Motivation is how motivated the donkey is to get to the destination, which is traveled by work, which is fueled by work. And if your donkey is completely overloaded, that sounds dirty, doesn't it? I overload my donkey. All right, so anyways, if your donkey is completely overloaded, it's not going to have motivation to get here. It's just going to want to sit right here, and it's just going to sit there pressing the rat button, okay? So this is turning into all sorts of inappropriate drawings with my terms and stuff like that. Good location of the ratgasm button. All right, so anyways, what you need to understand is you gotta starve the donkey. You gotta remove all the things that it's been pressing, and so it's gonna be like, oh, okay, cool. I need to go and get my kicks by doing this. Your phone, video games, and all the other super stimulations we have right now. I'm not being some hippie that's just like food. It's like food for the donkey, and you've been stuffing the donkey's face with so much cake that it has no motivation to go anywhere, so you need to starve the donkey. You need to just be like, hey, we're not feeding you at all for like a week 2 weeks, and a donkey's suddenly going to have all sorts of motivation to do stuff because that's the only way it can get fed. This also means stop playing video games, stop watching TV, and just stop all this stuff for a while, okay? Because what's going to happen is your brain is going to get very desensitized. Because what's going to happen is your brain will get sensitized to dopamine again, and will start drawing it from sources that are much more natural. For example, dopamine used to be released, and dopamine used to motivate people when they're cavemen to go hunting. That's a really strenuous, boring activity. Going sitting in a bush with your buddies, throwing spears at deer. That sucks. I don't want to do that. It's because my dopamine levels are way up here. And so if you want to get satisfaction from your work, you want to be able to focus, you got to get to the point where your dopamine receptors are sensitive enough that when you wake up and you get to your computer, like, whoa, yeah. And so I'll notice when I do this type of detox, I started actually yesterday again, I'll wake up really early and I'm like, I want to get to work. I want to go into my computer. I want to get pumped up. I want to do this. I want to go and hang out with my staff. I'm like excited to do it. And I'm like, also, I want to go work out today. And all this magical motivation comes back to me when I just stop pressing the ratgasm button. Because I'm aware of this, and there's been periods in my life where I've done this multiple times, and I'm aware of this, and I still have trouble with it. So I can't even imagine what trouble people who are not aware of it have. I don't see how it works. And so if you're having trouble doing things you need to do, it's probably because you're not enjoying the things you need to do. And if you want to easily do the things you need to do, you have to enjoy them. Thus, you need to remove the things from your life that are overloading your dopamine triggers, because you're going to end up just like the rat. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your dopamine triggers being completely overwhelmed to the point that you can't enjoy anything in your life. That's the problem. Fix that problem. It's going to do good things for you.